Hi Virgo, here is a general look at your solar chart for September 2015, and may I wish you a happy birthday and hope you have a wonderful year. In fact, the odds are stacked in your favor in that regard because we have Jupiter now in your sign as of August the 11th, so that's shifted the emphasis out of the fixed sign of Leo and into the mutable sign of Virgo, and then also Saturn is moving out of the fixed sign of Scorpio on the 17th of this month and into the mutable sign of Sagittarius. So there's a lot of emphasis on the mutable signs now and a lot less on the fixed signs. So the energy will start to move again for all of the signs more in the areas to do with where they have those fixed signs. Excuse me. And also, there's going to be a very supportive aspect now for the earth and the water signs, and you're an earth sign for the next year, and maybe slightly more challenging, but still quite supportive in many cases for the air and fire signs. Okay, so the faster moving inner planets, well, we have the sun, of course, being very powerful in your sign. So this is a time for you to be more self-centered. The sun is about the self. It's about the center. It's about our individuality, our sense of who we are, identity. It's about our ego as well. So this is a time for you to take that energy and use that energy. You will likely feel more buoyant, more resilient during the time you have the sun in your sign. And also from the 25th you get Mars into your sign as well, just at the moment the sun moves out, in fact. Now we've got Mercury going retrograde from the 17th, and you as a Mercury sign, or at least your sun's in Mercury sign, Virgo, you will likely to feel that retrograde. And if you follow online astrology then or any kind of astrology, then you'll know that Mercury retrograde times are when there's delays, there's hold-ups, that things get a bit out of sync, out of step, and it might be that there's crossed wires as well, postponements, suspensions of something, reschedulings, that kind of thing can go on. And also it can affect vehicles or travel and transport, and it can also affect, I don't think in any huge life sort of destroying way, but it can also affect communications equipment as well. So, but it might be no more than a blip, really. However, the general position of Mercury is in a very practical area, so conversations and maybe consultations will tend to have a more practical slant to them, and your thinking might be more revolving around material matters. Shopping, of course, at this time of the year. I mean, it is your birthday after all said and done. But also other resources, basic physical needs, diet, those types of things like property and possessions of various kinds. So your thinking will tending to be revolving around those, and maybe you desiring this or that or the other thing. Also buying, selling, renting, leasing, that could be on some of your minds at this time, and just generally stuff. So you might be thinking about how to rearrange it, how to sort of declutter it, how to get your hands on more, how to maintain it, that kind of thing. And maybe there's so many gifts coming your way that you are figuring out, okay, so what don't I need now because I've got I've got a nice new thing or two here. It might be like that, or maybe one or two of those items are going straight on eBay. I don't know. I mean, it could be. Anyway, you get the idea. And then we have Venus, and also we have Mars, both in the same area. Venus has been in the sign before yours for ages, in Leo for ages, since June the 6th, and will stay there until October. And this is in a very private area. I call it this sort of chrysalis area, where things can be developing, healing, or nurturing, growing behind the scenes. It can be a bit like that. It might be that you're mulling over feelings about things or about a person or people. maybe thinking about the past, finding emotions getting in the way of the present sometimes. Also, maybe keeping certain feelings secret as well. Maybe you haven't quite made up your mind, or maybe you don't quite know how somebody else is feeling about you. That kind of thing can be going on with Venus here. And but on the other side of it, it might not be like that at all. It might be that friends need more support from you, or not friends, but just others need more support from you. And after all, that is a very Virgo job, you know. In this path of the Virgo is often to provide service for others in this lifetime. A Virgo sun sign person, but also it can be something that you really identify with and love, that you provide for that service. It doesn't have to be something you know, menial that you don't like. So the trick is to find that thing that you really click with, that you can then capitalize upon and present in a way which it fulfills a need in the community or in the society. So anyway, this long transit might be like that, or it might be that you are feeling more supported, or you are getting some kind of facilitating coming from somebody close in some area or another. And I say close, it might be fleetingly close, like you have a flat tire on the side of the road and, you know, a breakdown van comes along. Or it might be sort of long-term close, or longer-term close anyway. So it's more likely that you have a connection with others providing a service to you at this time as well. And it can be health-related also. So maybe there's things going on that you're feeling your way towards in the background, ongoing to do with health, or maybe somebody that you're concerned about. It's a good idea for you to also be getting out of your head, off your head, completely off your head. That is, you know, the choice from the menu this month. But no, doing things that take you out of your ordinary everyday self. You know, reading, music, walking, swimming, meditating, that kind of thing that takes you into maybe a slightly altered state. So yeah, get down the pub. But no, that is one way, in fact. But it's you know, it's your choice as to, you know, whether there is a kind of a tax on that, really, which is like the day after. But to find your way into some kind of nurturing pursuit, which really is absorbing and feeds your soul. Now, I say that Mars is also in that place, and Mars likes action. Mars is Mr. Action Man, you know, he's Ken to Venus's Barbie. So, and that is really, really kind of not all Venus is at all, but and not all Mars is really, but Mars does like to take the initiative and be physically active in this same background area. So maybe you're doing things like long walks, or deep breathing, or yoga, or qigong, or one of those, because Mars really does like to move the body. This Mars force likes to move the body, the kind of the sitting thing, and the kind of the dreaming thing, or the meditating for a long time, because you can meditate whilst you're walking, of course, isn't really Mars's drink of choice. So again, this is a time to be proactive in this growth, this background, this chrysalis area. So maybe you being hands-on with something which is ongoing, which is growing behind the scenes, or which is you being the support behind the scenes. It might be like that. And maybe you are being dynamic in some way which is not really appreciated or understood by others in a private little bubble of a particular group of people, and you really, really are working quite hard maybe in that little group of people, which is kind of in an enclosed space, or a space where just that group of people are, you know, and who have all come there with similar ideas in mind, that kind of thing. This is a good time to be looking within and doing inner work, though, with both Venus and Mars here. Mars is moving out of there on the 25th, but if you're listening to this in August, obviously it's going to have a lot longer to go. So to be doing some inner work and getting some deeper understanding of maybe what your knee-jerk responses are about sometimes. Then Mars moves into your sign, and this is going to be very, very strong. Mars is coming into your sign at the same time as Jupiter's in your sign. It looks as if things are getting really stacked up for late September, but late September, but into October being really quite a bustly time, maybe an interesting time, particularly from when Venus comes along to join all two of them. So there'll be all three of them. So it looks like October's going to be a pretty strong month for you. Very, very interesting. And with Mars in your sign, your goals and objectives, you're going to get more the ball rolling with those, definitely. And be certain about feelings more when Venus comes into your sign. Be certain about what you're thinking. Just get on with doing these things, and for yourself as well as for others, and being plunged maybe into situations which demand a decision from you. So it's like you didn't volunteer. It's like, okay, this is just, these turns of events are happening. Okay, I need to make a decision and I need to take action. And it might be for, you know, somebody offering you a ticket for a holiday or something like that. So it's like, oh no, I'm comfortable here and I've got to see the dentist. Yeah, you know, the dentist will still be there when you get back. Or that's the kind of idea around it, okay? The advice is to not spread yourself too thin, but you definitely feel like, you know, I'm getting my energy back now. I want to tackle things, and I want to be physically active and out there. Mars doesn't like hanging around, so don't procrastinate, but also don't spread yourself too thin. Don't be impatient, because Mars can be a bit impatient, and Mars can be a bit combative as well. That's the Ken side of Mars. Again, you might come across as really a bit pushier than you really are, because that is the Mars energy coming through you in this very like competitive sort of a kind of a way. The Sun moves on the 23rd and goes into your financial area. It's the area to do with stuff, possessions, property, the same area that Mercury is in. So the Sun is coming to join Mercury, really sort of meaning that those types of things, shopping of course, is more center stage, but also, as I said, you know, it might be larger considerations like buying, selling, renting, leasing, that kind of thing. And then Mars, sorry, not Mars, and then, yes, that's right, Mars is coming into your sign. So that means that you're going to be extremely, far more anyway, not extremely necessarily, but more proactive and more kind of getting out in front and sort of, you know, being in the lead there in some way or other. And then we have Saturn. Saturn, as I mentioned earlier, has gone back into Sagittarius, will be there until December 2017, and that is going to have a knock-on effect across to you as another mutable sign. And so Saturn in Sagittarius is at the root of your chart, from the 17th, that is, and that means that maybe you are mulling over things to do with the past and sorting out things to do with the past. Maybe feeling that you're too limited, or you lack this feeling of being comfortable in a geographical location, or you want to make changes to your space. Or it might be to do with it might be to do with parents, it might be to do with family, it might be to do with community, it might be to do with the larger community as well, not just your neighborhood community, but a larger community, or like a tribe or extended community. In any of these areas here, you might feel a lack, you might feel a limitation, you might feel a blocking, and then you get this sort of situation where you have to figure out, well, how much is XYZ worth to me to go to the trouble of, doing this, making these changes at home, or trying to get things sorted out with family or extended family or whatever it's about. And Saturn's job is to throw a spanner in the works, which then we have to respond to. And we grow in strength when we do that responding, of course. This is very private, quite emotional area. So at those times that Saturn comes up to the degree of where your sun or maybe even another planet is, from that place over the next 2 years will be a time that these types of areas will be more noticeable to you. Otherwise it'll be just ticking along probably in the background as a sort of general situation. But in general, you might start to feel as though you are out, some of you will start to feel as though you're outgrowing the space, and by maybe towards the end of the transit, you will actually leave that space for another, and it might be for the very, very best of reasons, maybe because of all this wonderful expansive energy of Jupiter. You have spread your wings and gone into new areas, but you still have to keep maintaining that old scenario, whatever the old scenario is about. It could be like that. And so therefore, but towards the end of the transit, you're thinking, okay, I've weighed it up and I now see what I got to do. That's the kind of thing that can be happening. You Virgos born the 23rd to the 25th, or the 23rd to the 25th of August, or the 21st to the 22nd of September, or with from 28 degrees rising or up to 2 degrees rising, will feel this energy most this month. And then Jupiter is in your sign, as I say, and this means a real growth spurt in your life over this next 12 months, Virgo. And you could be taking off or getting doors flying open in several new directions. So you might have to do your Virgo thing of filtering and sort of synthesizing and figuring out which is the best way to go, which you're very good at, going the way which feels right for you, not underselling yourself in any way whatsoever, but you're going to be discovering much through those from different backgrounds or belief systems. So you could be traveling more, actually, Virgo, during this 12 months. And, the eyes will be opening up to new horizons and new realities and new potentials, because Jupiter is, if it's anything, is the planet of potential. So, work the energy, and if somebody gives you an invitation to go off on a flight somewhere, a low price flight, then reschedule the dentist. That's what I would do anyway, because Jupiter only comes around once every 12 years, you see. Also, higher education is another thing to do with Jupiter, and but Jupiter actually works best with informal education. So just sort of in the University of Life, really. That's where you learn, because Jupiter is the learning through doing planet. Anyway, this is your opportunity to think bigger and to reach for the golden ring on the merry-go-round. And you Virgos are born 26th of August to the 2nd of September, or with 3 to 11 degrees rising, going to feel that energy the most. And also, I just mentioning Neptune. Sometimes the Neptune energy gives you a distorted view of someone. Either you put them up on a pedestal, or they're so far down there that you just think, they're not on my radar anymore. And either way, it may be not quite right. But on the other hand, you can be very, very sensitive and compassionate and very much there for others with Neptune. But you need to also be sensitive and there for yourself. So keeping the thread of where you're going in life at the same time as keeping the thread of, maybe being the facilitator or enabler for another. You Virgos born the 31st of August or the 2nd to the 2nd of September with 8 to 9 degrees rising are going to feel that energy the most. And that's it for September. If you know your rising sign, your moon sign, listen to those. And also this material, the basics part of this material, is written up on my website. And also watch out for the Jupiter-Neptune opposition this month as the month gets going after the first week. So head a little bit in the clouds. You've got to keep it real. You've got to come down to earth and keep it real. And on the 28th, the lunar eclipse connecting with Saturn will help you to do just that. So I'll see you again the next time.